Welcome to the Wedding Chaplain podcast. My name is David Anderson, and I am so glad that you are joining me for today's episode. This podcast is designed primarily for engaged couples who are preparing for marriage in the next few months. But we also love connecting with couples who are already married. So whether you are newlyweds or been married for a few years, or just anyone that wants to grow stronger at any stage of marriage, this podcast is for you. For more information about our resources or our work as wedding officiants and guides for engaged and married couples, you can visit us anytime at weddingchaplain.com. Well, today's episode, it's a little different. Instead of me doing an interview, I was the one actually being interviewed. This conversation comes from an episode of another podcast hosted by a man named Daniel Krikorian. He's the founder of Be Remembered IO, and I am grateful that he allowed us to use and share the audio that he recorded. And part of the reason was it was a great conversation. It's a very wide-ranging conversation. We talk about the difference between simply officiating an event or having a real minister and why that distinction matters more than most couples realize. I also spend a little bit of time talking about the idea of the cave, something I teach on frequently. And it's that season right after the wedding when many couples instinctively pull back to process their transition into married life. We also spent some time talking about the words that are spoken in wedding ceremonies, especially readings, and the readings that couples choose, and the gravity of what is actually being said and read in your ceremony. In other words, do couples even have any idea what they're actually saying? But in particular, we go into a passage in the book of Genesis, Genesis chapter 2. It's a story of Adam and Eve. We talk about what is really being formed, what's really being said, what's really being created in that story, and why that matters for couples today. And we also close with a little practical conversation about the end of the wedding evening. How does a wedding evening end and how you should prepare for that moment? So I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation. And so with that, let us jump right in.
Hey, everyone, and welcome back to Love Lessons. My name is Daniel Krikorian. I am so happy to have you here with me. If you're new to the show, I want to let you know what we do here is bring on incredible guests from everything from the psychologist to the wedding world, marriage, you name it. Everything relationships is inbounds here. We're going to have some fun today. We're going to talk to some incredible people. Before I do that, I do want to let you know this show is sponsored by BeRemembered.io, your number one stop for all things weddings. If you're a couple, go to BeRemembered.io, sign up, use our incredible budget tools, planning, wedding websites, you name it. It's all there for you. If you're a vendor, check out BeRememberedStudios.com and see everything we offer to get your business off the ground. And it's for the true wedding professional. Now, today, I have Reverend Dr. David Anderson with us, an incredible local church pastor in Ohio, really interesting guy, and just wrote a book. He's working on another one called Before God and These Witnesses. David, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate you having you here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So, David, tell me a little bit more about this journey. I know we're going to cross over between the relationship, marriage, you name it. We'll jump back and forth here today. But what got you started? How long have you been doing this for? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I've been doing weddings for about 30 years. I was a chaplain at a private school in Atlanta. And I was there for about 10 years. And the wedding thing really just kind of fell in my lap. I was on staff, and I just started I had some teachers just ask me to do their wedding. And it created a weird thing in my world because I was like, well, you got to be in a church to do a wedding. And I quickly realized that's not the case. I was, all right, well, I'll do your wedding. And then, another teacher would ask me to do their wedding, and we had a chapel on the premises. But then feel like, well, can you do it? We're going to do it here. We're going to do it at the hotel or the barn or the wedding venue or things like that. Did a few of those, and then like it really started with a coordinator or a venue professional would ask me for a card. I'm like, okay, I don't have okay. I'll give you my phone number. And then I realized there's something out here, because they would say this very interesting thing. That says we have a ton of couples who do not have a minister. Yeah. And then it was like, wow, that just hit me. And as a minister, I started realizing, hey, this is a very interesting opportunity, because these folks who are reaching out to me, a lot of them are the phrase, as the culture sort of puts it now, we're spiritual, but we're not religious.
Yeah.
We don't like organized religion. And I would say, well, hey, listen, it's way better than disorganized religion, and they don't understand that. But so what I would also find, these different, like, hey, I'm Catholic, she's Protestant, or we both stopped going when we went to college, or whatever, or our mom really wants us to they wanted us to get married in church. We don't want to do that. So can you come do this here? And so there's this whole group from about 18 to 30, and they don't attend anywhere. But I was finding a bunch of other weird stuff. I was finding that there were churches that would say, well, we'll do your wedding, but it has to be here. And we're not coming to this other place. Or, and if you don't convert to our faith, if you don't convert to our belief, we're not going to do it. So there were a lot of hoops and things like that. And so it's really grown to the point now. I mean, the church used to own this. This used to be the church's,
right.
You were going to the chapel. Why were you going to the chapel? To get married. That's what everybody thought. Well, 70% of weddings this year are not going to happen in a church. So I realized there has to be something out there. The other thing that I was sort of finding too is that there were a number of folks who they're officiants, and no offense to the officiants out there. There's a ton of them. There's a ton of good ones. The basic approach for what I found was, I'm going to help you have a wonderful ceremony. Okay, I'm going to make sure I say your names right. I'm going to tell stories. I'm going to make people laugh, all of that. But no one's really interested in the marriage piece. Okay, I'm here for your ceremony. I'm here for this event, and I'm going to do a fabulous job at your event. And I was always under the like, hey, I'm here for your wedding and your marriage. I want the day to be amazing. I want the day after to be amazing, and I want you to be ready for both. And that's just not where the industry was taking people. And it's like, all right, so I am a real pastor. I have my doctorate is in pastoral counseling. So I want to spend the time in the conversation with people to get them ready for marriage, because there's a letdown that's after the ceremony. I mean, you're coming down off of the mountain. And for most folks, at least at this point in the culture, the wedding is the last thing. It used to be you got married very young, then you got a house, then you had the dog, and then you had kids and all that. Nowadays, we're last. Like it's hey, we've already got the house, we've already had a kid, we've already got the dog, we're already in our careers. Now we're going to have a wedding, and the reality is, when you go back to work on Monday or the Monday after your honeymoon or whatever, you're going to go back to the same job. You're going to go back to the same house. And there's really not a lot of change. And so that starts to do something in the culture. That starts to do something like, I thought this was going to be different. It's like, no, you kind of because you put this at the end. There's no magic. There's nothing, you're just going back. So, so I get to share a little bit, and I'm just super passionate about making sure that couples stay together. I hate the whole divorce thing. I want to try to get those numbers down, at least for the folks that I work with. And I also realize this too: if you have one session premarital counseling, if I have 90 minutes with you, and we're not talking about the wedding, if I have 90 minutes with you, and I can talk a little bit about conflict, your family of origin, a little bit about money and communication, and the fact that you should continue to date each other, continue to pursue the relationship after you're married. If I can get those topics and it'll be rushed for 90 minutes. But if I can get that to you,
Yeah.
the divorce rate chances drop about 30%. Now, if you can take a whole thing, if you can take the whole, and so I'm like, oh, no, I don't want to go 6 months of classes. I don't want to take eight sessions. Like, I get it. It's fine. Whatever you want. If you want to do 2, 3, whatever your schedule allows, we sort of work with that. But you have to have some of that. You have to have, because when you get engaged, it's so exciting, but you tend to stop where you are. Okay. So we've been dating. We have this fabulous time. Somebody eventually is going to say, hey, what are we? Who are we? When are we? And then the guy's got to go get a ring, and he surprises her, and it's great. It's a beautiful story. Once you get that point, the machine takes over, and the machine of wedding world, and we're all in it, and we all love it and enjoy it. And, but the machine is hungry, and it takes a lot of your time, takes a lot of your energy. Most couples are not prepared to give up 5, 10, 15 hours a week to prepare for the wedding. But guess what? That's what it takes. So you got to meet these vendors. You got to go see the venues. We're doing dresses and tuxes and cake and tastings, which is all fun. But you didn't realize, like, this is just going to take a lot of time. And then your family's all in it, and they're all, so what unfortunately happens, you go into event planning mode, and the relationship sometimes gets frozen. And we're not talking about all the stuff that we need to talk about. And so it's like, hey, we need to talk about money. Do we have a budget for this thing? Have we even set a budget? Hey, we need to talk about something's going on in your family. Something's going on in my family. We got I've got stuff I've got to get done at work, and we got to make some decisions. And then, like, well, we'll do that after the wedding. We'll do that after the wedding. Like, no, that's terrible. That's terrible. You need to have something in the machine that is like, these are real life things. This is not just a party. It's not just an event. It's your life. And so you got to have some of those conversations. And so I was really finding myself, I was offering something that really not a lot of people were getting. Oh, yeah. And then the new trend, the one and again, no offense to anybody who did this, I'm going to get my brother to do the wedding. I'm going to get my friend to do the wedding. My frat brother is going to come and do the wedding. And those are terrible. Those are just terrible.
Yeah, that really does.
5 minutes long. He Googled it. He, ChatGPT came up with something, and they're terrible. They're absolutely terrible. And it's like, you know what? Get someone who is not just professional, but like, hey, we understand the thought process here. We understand there's actually a word called theology, that there's a process, there's this whole thing that's there. Like, let someone who knows what they're doing do this. I don't get my brother to do my dental work. I get somebody who knows what they're doing. So all of that sort of found myself. I said, there's a market. I hate that word because I'm a minister, but there's a market out there that I just tapped into, and I have more leads than I know what to do with. So I had to get some more ministers on my team because I just couldn't handle them all. Yeah. And that's just really sort of what turned into 1,800 weddings.
So let me. I have to stop you there, just simply because there's something that you just hit on that I'm just so fascinated by, and that is, they turned what was, I never thought about this, but something that was the beginning is now at the end. They turned something that was a way to snuff out and put in operational mechanisms to have a great marriage into just a quick ceremony. And so we've diluted without understanding these processes. And I think, before our call, we had this conversation about what marriage ultimately means and how to hold, in our circumstances, our wives, how we see them. And now it's all making more sense to me, because I heard it somewhere as a podcast about how, we're now thinking, oh, my wife, my husband, they're my best friend. And I've said this to my fiance. I'm like, you're not my best friend. You are so much more than that. And as my wife, you're going to be something that's spiritually connected to me. You're something that's, united under God, that we're going into this thing together as a partnership. It is so much more than just a friend. And
Right.
what you're hitting on here, it continues to just reiterate the fact that we've diluted things and we don't understand
Absolutely.
how important they are. So, I mean, it's a perfect segue, but it's insane to me.
Yeah, no, well, and I know where you're going, and so we'll get there. The main thing I always want to explain to folks is this, and there is a lot of research about couples that live together before they get married, and there's a religious bent to that sort of feels oppressive, and they don't want to talk about that. Where I tend to land on it is like, I just want you to understand, nothing's going to change. Okay. So you're not going to be more of who you are, and she's not going to be more of who she is. And we're not going to be more committed. We're not going to be more friends. We're not going to be closer. We're not going to be anything. There's nothing going to change. So all right. So you bought a house. You've been living in the house for 2 years while you've been engaged. You're planning your wedding. When you come back after the honeymoon, it's the same house. Right? It's the same place. And so if we think there's going to be this big magical deal, it's not. And so whatever that relationship is, all right, so we're engaged, we're kind of roommates, but we're committed and all this stuff. And now after we're married, now you've turned into something. Like, nope. You are that person. And all my good habits, all my bad habits, all the things you already know about me and how I conduct myself in my bathroom and how I conduct myself in the kitchen and the garage and all of it, that's not going away. That is not going to change.
Yeah.
And so
you're almost offering like some couples coaching before the wedding. I mean,
Yeah.
That's more of what it is than anything else. It's like, hey, we're gonna look at your relationship and how it is. We're gonna see, like, yes, there's love there. That's great, but we have to have these operational mechanisms in place. We have to define what those mechanisms are, see how they're all working out. So when you return from this wedding, we're not just, yes, you're going to be the same people, but now you have direction forward.
Exactly.
Like, that's really the big piece, it feels like, that no one's doing.
No. And it's weird because the season after a wedding is very difficult. It's a very difficult season. I call it the cave. It's the cave can last, 3 months to a year. The cave is where, we're going to go hide. It's for some couples, it's like they disappear for a little bit. Okay. Now you do it, but also the people in your wedding and your family and your friends kind of do this too as well. We all kind of leave you alone for a little bit. Okay. Because we've been so in the thing, and the wedding is sort of the high point of that, that we're not going to talk to you for like 2 months after, and you're not going to talk to us. And, part of it is I'm just trying to absorb what all happened, so you have 200 people. They're all there. It was great. It was beautiful. There was this one vendor who messed up something. My aunt said this weird thing about my dress, and somebody criticized, why are we here? Why did we decorate this way? And, my wedding was so much better. And you need to absorb some of that, and it just takes some time just to come down and decompress from that. And you're opening your gifts and all that stuff's fun and fine. But, if the wedding day is the best day of your life, it just stands to reason you're going to have a little decline. Okay. Not that they're bad days, but you're coming down off of it. And the reality is you got to have it what are we talking about now? Like, what are we talking about? We have talked about this thing for 9, 12, 15, 18 months, however long. And I don't like anything over 18 months. If these people who've been engaged for 5 years, it's like, oh my gosh, just figure that out. What do we talk about now? What do we talk about? And then, eventually that turns into kids. And I'm like, no, kids is not wedding planning. That's no, don't think that's a whole different thing. But there's a gap. There's a gap in the conversation, and they have to sort of figure out. So they're in the cave. And depression's a weird word. That's a hard word, but you come down a little bit, and everybody leaves you alone. And it was literally 3 weeks ago, everybody's in my business and everybody's on my Facebook page and everybody's on my Instagram and they're all looking at my pictures and they're all chatting me up and everything. And after about a month, it goes quiet. And you have to really figure out, hey, now it's just the two of us. It started with just the two of us and it grew, this whole community thing. And now it goes back to the two of us. And a lot of folks aren't ready for that. A lot of folks aren't ready for that. And it's like, all right, what's the next thing? And there's really not. The next thing is life. It's not really an event other than children. And so you're like, oh gosh, now what do we do? I was like, well, that's why you have to have these conversations about the marriage, because you have to look forward to that part. I want you to look just as much forward to the marriage as the day. Okay. The day's great. The day's fine. The food's going to be amazing and all that, but I'm super excited about this next chapter. And a lot of people don't. They're like, hey, my wedding is on October 15th. I don't even know what October 6th is. Like, is October 16th on the calendar? Is it even there? Is it even, like, no, it sort of rises and falls on that. So you got to have those discussions. Like, you're going to come down. Now, and what's the weird part too, and we're going to talk about friends here in a second, but for guys and girls, it's a whole different world. Guys are, and God help the man who voices this and actually says it out loud. Guys are very happy that it's over. Okay, you're just fine, and we're the ones saying, "Hey, I want to get back to normal. I want to get back into my routine and all of that." And typically, not to be stereotypical, but typically the girls be like, "Oh, I wish it could be wedding day every day." It's like, and they want to keep doing that thing for a little bit. And Mo's like, oh my gosh, I'm done. I'm really done. I'm ready to move on from this. Yeah. And that's hard. So you got it. So, and guys don't go, it's like, hey, it's over. Aren't you glad it's over? Do not no. Keep acting like, hey, how do you feel? And let's talk about our memories and all that. Right. But we're wired different. And so guys, that's the first minefield that you could step into the week after the wedding. There's actual research out there that says that the worst fight you're going to have is the Thursday after your wedding. And
you're kidding me.
Yeah, because all right, wedding Saturday, depending on whether you go on a trip or not, sort of dictates some of this.
Yeah, okay.
Wedding Saturday, Sunday, you're saying goodbye to family. Mm-hmm. Monday, you're starting to come off of it a little bit. There were things that probably happened the weekend of your wedding. Every wedding's weird. Every funeral is weird. People say weird things. You put all your heart, soul, and money into this thing, and somebody is going to insult your dress. Insult why this place, my wedding was better. They're going to do all that, but you can't say any of that yet because we're still on the glow. We're still in the glow,
right?
And so eventually, someone's going to say, "Hey, it was kind of weird. I can't believe someone in your family said this." Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? My family? Did you see what you guys were? And then all of a sudden it goes. And it's like this release valve happens. And it could be a vendor, doesn't have to be family. I can't believe we told this DJ 10 times. This is we want, all this. Yeah. It's got to be Florida Georgia Line, Rascal Flats, and he didn't play any of them and whatever. Or the cake, that's not the cake we ordered. That was the food, was whatever. Something was going to happen, but you can't really say it because it's. You had a perfect day, right? Yeah, I had a perfect day. Did you have a perfect day? Yeah, I had a perfect day. Then come Tuesday, we could start doing the Google reviews on what happened. But then there's a release valve, and I'm just frustrated. I don't know what to do with it. And you're the only one in the room with me, so you get it. You get all of that, and you're both doing it. Now, the makeup love is amazing after that first fight because it is honeymoon week. But yeah, there's usually a weird conflict that shows up unexplained. Why did we just had a throwdown and we're 4 days married. And like, oh my God, we're 4 days married. It's a crisis. We shouldn't be together. No, it is just 4 days married. Okay. I'm a Detroit Tigers fan. The Detroit Tigers, we just got eliminated. It's taking me about 3 days to just get over that whole thing. And just don't talk to me. for a couple of days. I'll be fine. I'll come back to normal. But the wedding's way worse than that, or better, or however you perceive that. There's just a little bit of adjustment that comes with it, and it sometimes can show up as conflict. So,
wow. Yeah, I guess this is terrible. And my fiance will probably watch this or listen to this, but I really want to put that Thursday date on my calendar and just be like, let's see.
Well, now that you know it, be careful of it. But
I know, right? Exactly. I'm just going to shut up and go for a run all day.
Yes, they take longer. And that's, so we were talking offline about, the idea of friendship,
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and again, I kind of touched on this point, and it all kind of flows together here. We were talking about just how we see one another, and, after the marriage, even before the marriage, but in a relationship nowadays, and this is what I was kind of, I guess before we got online, I really didn't see how relatable it was. But as you said, more and more, it seems like we're just diluting everything down, and we've diluted down the partnership as well. And there are some groups that have diluted it down even into like, I'm above, you're below, this pecking order concept. And then there's others who said, you're my best friend now. And one of the things that I spoke about to my fiance early on in our relationship was, you're not my best friend. I have best friends. I don't talk to them most of the year, right? Like that's not a good thing. You don't want to be there. Right. And if you're expecting me, the other thing too is I feel like a lot of, and I am going to say women here, they're looking for men to be their best friend. And to be the best friend of a woman, you need compassion. You need all of these certain devices that I don't think men are good at. And so, on average. And so I think when you say to your girlfriends and say, hey, listen, you should find a man who's going to be your best friend, you're setting that man up to fail. You're asking them to do everything. So that's one component. But the second component comes from the religious standpoint. And that is, I think being a wife, if you should not be seeing your wife as a best friend. You should be seeing them as so much greater. You should be seeing them, as that partner, as that, that spiritual connection. So that's what I asked you. Our conversation really rooted around of like, where are we missing here as partners in this relationship?
Yeah, I think, the whole friendship piece is difficult because girls should have friends that are other girls. They should have, their friends. You could be friends with your mom and your sisters and your daughter and your friends from college and all of that. Those are friends, and those are different relationships. Those there's just a lot more conversation. There's a lot more sort of ongoing conversation. Guys are more we have more episodic relationships. Like, we're going to go play golf. Okay. Yep. But we're not going to talk tomorrow. Like, if we play golf today, we're not talking tomorrow. And while we're playing golf, I'm not going to ask you about really a whole lot of anything. I'm not going to ask you about your parents. I'm not going to ask you about, all this stuff. We're here to play golf and have fun. And, I saw a comedian recently. He was sort of describing, like, he went to go play golf with his friend who had just gone through a divorce. And the wife asked him, like, well, how's he doing? I don't know how he's doing. Well, he didn't mention the divorce. No, he didn't mention any of that stuff. And that's completely fine. Like, that's how we do that. But the idea of, the challenge is, when you're doing weddings, you're sort of putting together these ceremonies, and a lot of times folks will want certain passages read. And it's always sort of an interesting thing because no one really knows what we're saying when we read these passages. So the famous one is 1 Corinthians 13. Love is patient, love is kind, love is not envious or boastful. It keeps no record of wrong. And like, I love that one. Like, do not keep a record of what your partner did wrong, and like really pay attention. We have no idea. They sound wonderful at the wedding. But the one we read a lot of it's out of Genesis. It's the Genesis chapter 2 story. God creates Adam, and then he creates Eve. And that story is amazing. And it sort of starts off with, Adam is first, and he's walking around, and he notices, like, he's not a math major and he's not a farmer yet, but he's just sort of like, hey, there's two of them, there's two of them, there's two of them, there's one of me, and there's probably something going on. Like, hey, what's going on here? And then God creates Eve from Adam, and takes the rib out of Adam, puts him to sleep, and he takes the rib. And the word that is used in the translation, there's a number of different translations, and that's a whole other discussion about Bible translations, anything like that. But the word that is used, it's translated as helper. It's in Genesis chapter 2, verse 18. It says, "I will make him a helper as his partner." That's the English Standard Version. The old King James Version would use this word called helpmeet, and it's not really used anymore. But it's the hard part is it's a hard word to translate. It's a hard phrase to translate. And helper sounds terrible. It sounds like, hey, God made Adam a servant. God made Adam,
yeah. And that's how people like to use it when they're using it against the Bible, right? They're just like, it's
God
underneath.
made me subservient. So the phrase in Hebrew, the phrase is ezer kenegdo. And when you really get into the translation of what that word is, that phrase gets used elsewhere in the Bible, and it is used oftentimes in a military context. Okay. Now, my sons, all my kids are in the Army, but my oldest son, he's in the Special Forces, and we had a conversation where we were talking about boot camp or basic training. And I was always under the impression, I did not serve in the Army, and so I'm always asking them questions and all of that. So I was always fascinated about like what that process was. And in my mind, I thought it was a very individual. You have to learn how to be the soldier, be the, all that you can be, all of that. And he says, no, really what you're doing in boot camp is you are doing this thing where you are learning to work with a partner. You are learning to work with a partner. And so the common word is like comrade, but it's like you have to figure out how to do stuff in tandem. So there's, like, when you're attacking the enemy, there's certain positions where I'm going to go first, you come in second. I'm going to be above you, you go below. And there's this tandem thing that's going. And that's how the Bible, that phrase, ezer kenegdo, is used. You are working in tandem in a conflict situation. You are fighting together. So it's almost like you two are back to back. There's a whole group of enemy around you. It's up to you two, and you can do it. You can do it. You guys are going to make it out of there. And I grew up, in the 80s and 90s, there was this overused movie theme, this movie trope. It's called the buddy cop movie. Okay. And it was all those movies like Lethal Weapon, Turner and Hooch. That's probably not a good example.
Beverly Hills Cop.
But Beverly Hills Cop. And it was always sort of is the same idea. You had this odd couple that's put together. Okay. A white and African American would be put together. A man and a woman would be put together. The older grizzled veteran cop and the rookie, whatever the case was. And, they annoyed each other. They got, I can't believe I'm being stuck with you. This was a mistake and all that. But by the time the movie's over, they've become this team, and they're going to live for each other. They're going to die for each other. They're going to fight for each other. They're going to, take down the mob or whatever they're going to do in the movie. But we love that. We love that idea. That's what the ezer kenegdo is. That is what the helper is. You are my partner. You are the one who is going to, you have my back. We're working together. We're both on a mission. We both have something we have to accomplish together. But come whatever may, you were there for me. And that idea doesn't get translated in very well. If it's just helper or my best friend, that's cute. That's all good. But best friend is not, I'm going into battle with you. Okay. Yeah. I have a lot of friends that I would not trust to go into battle with me. Okay. We all have those friends like, ooh, no. Johnny, no.
You're here for the party. That's about it. Like let's,
And, every guy, as you sort of say, all of his guys up front, there's really only one best man. Usually I would say that's probably the one, but who knows? How many of those guys are you going to go fight with? But that's the phrase that we're thinking, but and that extends past the wedding. Like, hey, we have a mission. We have something we're going to accomplish together. There is something that's going to take us past this moment. And I can't do this by myself. I need you. I need you. And you really can't do it by yourself either. You need me. And we're going to go do this together.
I love that. That's amazing. That's a great way to put it. Yeah. That we're going to go into battle together beyond this pinnacle point of our relationship.
Absolutely. Now, and there's still romance. There's still romance in there. And that's the other, the friendship sometimes takes away. There is a romance. There's a lover piece. I mean, when Adam, he sees Eve and it's this phrase, God says, hey, I'm making for you this partner who's going to fight with you, protect you, has your back. He still sees her. And in that passage, he breaks out into a poem, like he's singing, this at last is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. This one shall be called woman, for out of the man this one was taken. We read that. It doesn't sound like poetry, but in the Hebrew, it is poetry. And it's a song. Okay. Yeah. And he sees her and he wants to sing. Okay. Now, I see my wife, and there's a theme song that pops into my head all the time. I always tell her, I tell her it's Rascal Flatts. There's other songs that sometimes pop in my head. I can't tell her those, but but when you're dating, when I was dating, man, back when we used to make mixtapes. Yeah. We didn't know what to say to girls, so we would you get the mixtape. And this will date me, obviously, but I had the Richard Marx, I had the Journey, you had Boston, you had Bon Jovi, you had all those, you had Peter Cetera, of course, you had to have the Karate Kid song, Bryan Adams, Foreigner, you had all those songs on there, and you'd put that on the mixtape and say, "Girl, this is what I think about you," and she puts it in the cassette player and plays it, but that's not friend. Okay. And most guys, when they hear a girl say, "Hey, I want you to be my friend," that's not a positive word. Like, oh, correct. We're just going to be friends. Like, no, sweetie, I want something. There's something else. We're not friends.
Yeah.
Okay? Not in a bad way. Yeah. We're different. There's something different. And that's okay. You are the one I will fight with, but you are also the one I want to look at. You're the one I want to be with. You're the one I want to kiss and hold and spend time with.
That's about all it is for men. We're pretty simple.
We're pretty simple, Yeah. If she says, "Hey, I want to sit and talk for 3 hours," you're like, "Oh, okay. All right. I'll do it." No.
Oh shoot. Well, David, on that note, I gotta wrap things up here. But before I let you go, I do wanna know, what's the advice for couples that you have, whether about to take that plunge and go through the marriage, the pinnacle here, or if it's just in a relationship, what are you telling them? What's the best advice you can give for any couple?
It's all kinds of advice. I would say the most important one is get the premarital counseling. Okay. So we offer it, if you come to our website, weddingchaplain.com, even if I can't do your wedding, we offer it.
Oh, awesome.
My distance. But you need to do the premarital counseling. You need to have someone else who has gone a little bit farther down the road from you talk through these things. Okay. Just very basic things, your family of origin, what are your attitudes towards marriage? Your financial situation. How do you communicate? How do you do conflict? Chores, Just my personality and your personality. You just need to have somebody walk you through that. There are a dozen different programs. I mean, I like the one we use, but just to have somebody do that with you. The risk of divorce drops around 30% if you just have one session of premarital counseling. And I would say, listen, just recognize, hey, the day is going to go by so fast. It's going to go by so fast. I always tell folks that, I just want to picture, you're at your wedding, you're at the reception. It's about 8:30 at night. You've had the ceremony. You've eaten, you've danced, you've had your first dance, you've had your daddy-daughter dance, you've had your mom-son dance, you've had your toasts, you've cut the cake. The DJ's about to go into all the funky music, and it's going to separate the olders from the youngers. And shoes are off, the vests are off, the girls' heels are off, and they're about to make fools of themselves on the dance floor. That's a great point in the wedding. Okay, around that point, this weird thing happens where not all, a lot of your older guests are going to come up to you, and they're going to say the most, you can't even understand how weird this sounds. Okay. They're going to come up to you about 8:30 and they're going to say, hey, we love you. And we got to go. Like, what? What did you say? Like, yeah, we got to go. We're going to go ahead and head early. Now you could stay till over 10, 11, whatever the venue lets you, but you're going to start to hear that phrase, and then it's going to dawn on you. It's ending. This is ending. This is going to end. And you really, what's the sort of the sad part is once people start leaving, you spend an incredible amount of time saying goodbye to people from 8:30 to the end of your night. Now you might get back for another dance or whatever. Hopefully that crowd leaves and then the rest of the crowd stays. But you are mitigating loss for the rest of the evening because you're saying goodbye to the people that love you and they wanted to see you and you wanted to see them and they came and it's awesome. But you are going to say goodbye, and it's a very weird way to end the evening. And they all leave. And so you have to be ready. You have to be ready for that moment, but you also have to be ready for the next day. And if you're not ready for that next day or the next week or the next month, you're in trouble. And so we always say, hey, you have to prepare for your wedding. You have to prepare for your marriage. If all you do is prepare for the event, it's the worst after Christmas feeling that you will ever have. Okay. December 26th is the worst day on the calendar. The day after your wedding will have that same feeling. If you're not prepared, you have to prepare for it. You will come down. It's going to come down, but you have to at least say, hey, this is the beginning, sweetie. This is the beginning. We have a whole thing ahead of us. I'm so excited for the next chapter and all that stuff. So get the premarital counseling. You have to get that. You have to. Okay. Because someone will lead you through that. It's not pre-wedding ceremony counseling. It's premarital counseling. Because we all recognize, hey, it's not this party. It is not this day. It is something else. So that's the main thing. And and anybody, you come to our website. I'm sure there'll be a link in the notes and all that. Yep. Man, any parts of it that you can get or afford to take or give up on your schedule, your calendar, it's well worth it. Well worth it.
Well, thank you, David. I mean, that was absolutely incredible. And we will absolutely include links in the notes. Thank you so much for joining us here. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you all for joining us here. This has been another episode of Love Lessons. I do just want to say, if you are thinking about taking that plunge, go to BeRemembered.io. Use all of our tools to go ahead and plan your big day and the rest of your life. And you will hopefully be able to find David there one day too as well. So really appreciate him coming on the show. My name is Daniel Krikorian. Jump in for another episode of Love Lessons coming up soon. Can't wait to have you back here. Hope you learned something great today. You take care and have a great day.